So I'm going to jump. Just the demonstration tonight is really two people. Bill Heaps is going to show his catenary curves and how I call it his catenary corkboard, and how he uses that to make shapes. And then Barry's going to show us how he made this exceptionally beautiful segmented bowl. But before we get to that, we've got a bunch of business to take care of that I don't want to wait till the end just because some of it's kind of important. We talked about the tool inventory. Jim Barr asked me, I don't know, last meeting or maybe the one before, if I would mind or anybody would mind if he started to organize the tools. And I said, probably everybody's going to be very aggravated that somebody stepped up and organized the tools. So Jim, and I also want to sort of apologize because I kind of jumped the gun. I was excited when Jim volunteered to take the lead on organizing the tool. And we increased the amount of money that we could spend without getting membership approval. So I kind of went out on a limb and I bought the blue toolbox, navy blue, at Jim's suggestion. Or Air Force blue. Well, that does it for me. And I guess I got the corkboard as well. We talked about it at the executive committee meeting. We don't have a final tally, but there's a spreadsheet up there that says lathe by lathe what tools each lathe has. We don't really have a place to keep tools for the Laguna, the Little Delta, or the Nova, so we have to figure that out. But we still we spread all the tools out and associated each kind of tool with the lathes to the best that we could. There's some things that are missing from some of the lathes. I think we need one more chuck, if I'm accurate, and probably a set of jaws. And then I call it central supply because it sounds important, but anything that isn't specifically associated with the lathes is now in one of these two toolboxes for the most part. And that shows where those tools are located. It's kind of, I guess I'd say anal retentive, but there's categories, subcategories, and so on and so forth. And then it tells you which of those devices, either which lathe or central supply, has those particular pieces. Additionally, I got some more, I got some fast load drill bits, some Forstner bits, and a small socket set, just because open shops, people are always looking for tools and we have trouble finding what we need. And then we decided, since this is the demonstration lathe, and I'll get it in a second, it'd be good to have the tools that get used mostly by demonstrators and at this lathe, not in a box or drawers where people can't see them. So this way, they're very visible to whomever's turning. So that's what we're up to. But we think we're going to need between $300 and $600 more to finish out the tools for the lathes and maybe a few other things for the central tool supply. So I don't know, I actually honestly forget what the rules are for getting membership approval, but I'd like to ask if people are, if we can take a vote to see if people will give us the ability to spend up to $600, and we can go through it in more detail if people would like before we go spend the money, but to finish outfitting the shop with the tools that we believe we need. So.
I'll motion that we spend the money as you stated.
Okay, thank you. Second? All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Zoomland. So that's passed, and we will proceed to do that. This also includes Jim's suggestion that you all are familiar with people who have really nicely fitted out shops of getting foam. Each tool fits in the foam. You can tell if a tool is missing because it's not there, and that also helps organize the tools. So this includes Jim's proposal to get some foam to put in each of the drawers and where we keep the tools for the lathes. So that's going to include that. And again, thanks to Jim, and also Tom was here when we were doing this, and so three of us walked through this. We tried to clean the shop up a bit and then took the next step in organizing things. So it's not done, but it's a work in progress.
John, a question. How many people show up for Saturday mornings? I've never been here.
I'd say between, I don't know, 12 and 15 or 20.
Really?
Something like that, yeah.
And all the lathes and therefore get used.
Pretty much, Yeah.
Good.
And usually there's somebody giving somebody else instructions, either on the Powermatic or whatever. So it's usually a pretty good crowd.
I was just gonna say, and if there's any reason for a lathe not being used, it's generally because of lack of tools.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Just make
No,
a
you're right.
comment. It's
That's
like-
right. And one of the tricks is all the chucks aren't the same. So, and you know, most of them are 1 inch. This is 1 1/4. The Nova's 1 1/4. So that's also one of the, that's why they're not all interchangeable. You know, I mean, it's not bad to have a mixture, but we got to make sure we have the right kinds of chucks and jaws, because one size does not fit all, obviously. So that's where we are with that. If we have any questions, we need to exceed that, or think we do, we won't exceed it until we come back to the membership. But 600 is pretty healthy. Barry?
I'm just going to recommend that for Jim's purposes, we might want to look at getting 2 of the 1 1/4 to 1 inch adapters. Just if somebody came planning on
Right.
doing something small or only 1 inch, you can put it on those, and I think they're like around $20 a piece.
Yeah, I think we might have one more left here. I got a couple when Ernie was coming because we didn't have enough adapters, you know, the inserts. But we will check that to see how many we have, and if we think we need more, we'll.
It's just a screw-on adapter,
Exactly.
not an insert.
Oh, true. Got it. Computer upgrades. The parts for the solid-state drives have arrived. John DiBenedetto is going to make the upgrades following tonight's meeting. We didn't want to do it right before a meeting and then find out something went south. So he's going to do it afterwards. And again, thanks to John Peter Caddick, who not only usually is here helping to run the computer, but also organize the computer equipment, what have you. Bill Heaps. Bill comes almost every month, I think, and does Windows updates. He did it again today. Plus, he's part of this group. And then Mike Junkerth was also involved with making suggestions for alternatives to updating our desktop in case this one actually goes sideways at some point. So that's all great news. After last week's coffee hour, Doug called me up with some news from the Woodturner Symposium, and they would like their Powermatic back sometime this coming month. So I guess I don't know what the deal was with the Powermatic and why we came to have it, but if you know more.
Yeah, when the Mid-Atlantic first started off, Rick Baker said, this was his lathe. He donated it to the Mid-Atlantic Woodturners Symposium and not to the club. But he said, we could store it for them between uses of the woodturners, provided they could use it on the club. So it has never been belonged to the club. It's always belonged to the Mid-Atlantic Woodturners Association. And Rick called me up and said, we've actually bought 2 more Powermatics, and we want this one back. They're modifying it. They wanted to be able to modify it and put it in a special feed on it so they don't have to transport it anymore. So technically, we need to give it back to them. So that just means a matter of taking this down, dismantling it, taking the 2 dollies, putting them in the back of somebody's pickup and driving them to Downingtown to Rick Baker's home. And that'll be done. And after that, then for any of the wood turning symposiums, this year's and next year's, I think the next year's, they're still planning on having it someplace in Lancaster. We'll still need to have a crew for getting the lathes downtown, but it's going to be a whole lot less driving back and forth and everything like that. So all 3 lathes will be stored in one place, and we're talking about the possibility of using one of Angelo's lathes as the 4th one, and that is Angelo's within a quarter mile of where the lathes will be stored. So
So Ben, I think I'm not putting words in your mouth. Are you okay with helping get this one down?
Yeah.
So we'll work with Ben to get this.
We do it every year anyhow.
Yeah, so we'll just get it down sometime this month.
Yeah.
Load it in the back of my truck or whatever we do and take it to Downingtown. And in the meantime, I'm guessing we will bring the Nova Galaxy up. It's the 2nd largest lathe we have, and we'll move it up here for the time being. But obviously, I think we should be looking for another heavier lathe, because Doug could not do his demonstration he did with the outboard thing. I don't think the Nova could handle that. This can.
Well, the point of a bigger lathe, I know you guys you can make small stuff on the big lathe. You just can't do big stuff on the small lathe.
Right.
And so it's not that we absolutely need it for every demonstration. It's just convenience of the size.
Well, I could
and
get
stuff
some
like
sandbags for the Delta.
that. Yeah, exactly. Well, nah. Well, the Delta actually does. Well, yeah. Anyway, but I agree that we need to find if the club wants to get another one.
Right.
We've got resources. I think starting to get them so that it's not such a stretch to get the big lathe in, another
Right.
big lathe in here. So I guess I'm going to just say thanks for even letting us use it for the last
Absolutely, yeah.
whatever.
It's obviously we benefited from it.
And another question.
Yeah.
How do you get that lead out of here?
Yeah, window.
We throw it out the window.
Did you ever see Bewitched?
Ben and I grab each side of it and just carry it down the steps.
And I watch.
Actually, what
Barry
happened
watched.
is that Ben and Rick fork around for a while.
Yeah.
We put it on. We actually put it on the trolleys. Wheel it out this door, and the fork truck actually comes up right to this thing and pulled it up and it rolled it on the fork truck tongs. It's a fork truck is at the maximum height. It's not really what I would say the best or safest way of transporting it.
It's about a bit of a high wire act without the wire or the net.
Yeah. So it's not exactly bad that we're letting it go. Yes, Mike.
Yeah, you're talking about another lathe. Everybody knows Carl. I don't know if everybody knows that he is a rep for One Way now.
Okay.
Right.
And he's got it in, and he may be able to make a deal. He's all upset about tariffs and everything at the moment, but once he gets over that, maybe you want to talk to him before buying anything and see what kind of deal he can get the club.
Well, that certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
You mean buying it new from one way?
Yeah.
Isn't it still around 7,000?
Yeah, they are.
It depends what you want.
Rick Baker actually found his two Powermatics on used someplace around in this area, not in this area, but someplace in the northeastern United States, and went and drove and got them. So there's all sorts of different things we can look at.
Well, new one, I think it's the same model.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little shorter. Is like $5,300.
Exactly.
Not that we, but I'm just saying a new Powermatic is like 53.
Just get a used one.
Get a used one.
Talk to Blue Ball. I could talk to Blue Ball tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
They've got a lot of fingers all over the joint.
Right. Okay.
Can I just bring up another topic on this lathe? Okay, a couple of years ago at the symposium,
Oh, yeah, thank you.
we dropped a lathe, and it belonged to a member of our club, Ron Sheehan, and the bed actually bent. And even though Ron loaned it in the lathe, and the symposium people didn't want to pay anything to get it fixed. And I really think that's a bit unfair, but I would like to at least propose as a club that we chip in and get that bed straightened out so Ron has a bed that actually, a lathe head that actually moves on his lathe again.
You can switch beds.
There you go. I'll tell you what we'll do. There you go. We'll ship right back to the lathe that was damaged by the symposium.
Stop recording before that scene.
Delete.
We got the technology.
I'm sorry for not asking you, Ron, but I was.
I've been using that lathe. There's probably a 1/16 of an inch misalignment between the tailstock and the headstock. Once in a great while when I'm turning and I have the tailstock up tight to keep a piece from coming off, I can hear the bearings growling in the tailstock live center.
Right.
But other than that, it seems to work fine. I had thought with the idea of taking it over or calling Blue Ball to come over and take a look at it, and I haven't done it. I don't think it's worth worrying about it at this point.
Well, I think I disagree with you, Ron, only because we borrowed it, we damaged it, we fix it.
And I have to say also, the past year's symposium, I think it was Stuart Batty,
Yeah.
couldn't do what he needed to do because it has that damage.
He heard the noise. And,
Yeah.
He down so damn tight I can't move it anymore.
Well, there's that too. I mean, it ought to work properly, is what Doug said.
But anyway, I would be willing to take it over and pay the bill at Blue Ball if it were that much of a concern. I've been okay with it, so.
Well, do you have any objection if we take a look at it first? Or just take a look at it?
Well, I've taken the headstock off and laid a straight edge on and tried to find a misalignment. I can't find anything. So I don't know where the alignment is. But it's moved a little bit, there's no question, but it's not anything really to be worried about, my opinion.
Okay, well, I just wanted to put it out there, because like I just said, we damaged it, it's not in the condition it was when it left the shop.
Mid-Atlantic would cover it if we were any charge for it.
I tried it, and Rick said no, unfortunately, so unless you and I get together and
Well,
bring it up with Rick.
I would argue with him about that, but
Okay,
I haven't brought it up.
okay, well, I brought it up now, I still don't feel comfortable, because as the transportation guys, we did the damage, and I don't think it's, anyway, that's.
Can I just ask, is Blue Ball the best place to go to diagnose the problem?
I think so.
Yeah.
Do you have an objection if we contact
Although
Blue
they have
Ball?
our nub over there for a month and a half and haven't done anything with that. So.
The one you called me about that had some
Yeah.
electrical
I
problems?
took the headstock over and they're still working on it. Trying to get it apart, I guess.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I've always had them quick turnaround with stuff in there, except for waiting on parts.
Yeah.
So do you mind if I give Blue Ball a call and just talk to them about this? Okay, thank you. Is there any other business that people would like to bring up now, or shall we go to Bill Heaps? Oh, Treasury report, sorry.
All right. Well, we can't buy a new lathe at either of those prices right now. And right now, with what we've brought in and the expenses going out, plus the pending expenses going out, today's balance was $4,798 and 87 cents. So that's where we're at with that.
Do we have to buy you a notepad or something? Or what?
What it was is,
Well, it was 25 cents, and then he bought that piece of paper.
I thought, no.
Can't afford notepads. We're saving up for a lathe.
No paper.
Oh my. Okay, now I'm going to trade places, and Bill's going to show how he uses his catenary corkboard. Bill, do I need to do anything over here with any? You got the control. You just want camera 4.
Yeah, switch back and forth between camera 4 and what we have going on.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Heaps. I'm going to be going over a Catenary Curve bowl turning and how I've evolved over the years. Year and a half ago, about 2.5 years ago, these are my first 2 bowls I made. I'm only pointing them out because, you know, I can't say that their shape is anything to write home. It's okay. It does all right. I don't mind it. My second bowl was a little fatter around the edge. I felt it still fits well in the hand. And I just really struggled with what is a good bowl design. I just didn't understand what it was. So in a conversation with Ray Simmons on a Saturday, he said, "Hey, have you ever heard about Catenary Curve?" I've heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was. So he explained it to me, we talked about it, and he encouraged me to try that shape. You want to switch over to the slide, please?
Nope. Camera 4. Oh, got it. Sorry.
There we go. So what is the catenary curve? Basically, it is anything you hang between 2 set points has weight and gravity pulls down on it. Chain is very flexible, so it conforms to a specific shape. A rope, a cable, if you walk out through and look at power lines, you're seeing the catenary curve. Here's other common catenary curve examples. Like I said, chain between 2 points. Spider web is a catenary curve. The St. Louis arches are a catenary curve.
Suspension bridges.
Suspension bridges are a catenary curve. they're experimenting with biomimicry, the catenary curve, because of the structure and the strength and how it works. This I found is interesting. If you take a bees and you just have a board without a frame, it will, when it creates the hive, create a catenary curve. And there's a really famous house or a building in Spain, and this is the underside of it, but they're using that for structure, and it also blends to the outside shape of the building. So catenary curve is a lot of different places. What it is not is a parabola. I talked to a number of people, and while the shapes are very similar, and you can see with the two lines up there, the outer red one is a catenary curve. The inner blue is really purely a mathematical quadratic formula or equation. They're very similar. When you scale them to a certain size, they may look identical, but when you do a parabola and you try to scale it up, it gets crazy on the scaling. Catenary curve is very specifically based on, you can switch over to the other cameras now. It's really based on a chain. And you have a point between the two chains, and it just hangs straight down. So I thought I'd try that. So what I did was I took a bowl blank, to stay there and not roll off, and I tried to hang it there and figure out how to get that curve onto that bowl. And I struggled with it. I just couldn't hang it there, especially when I go on the lathe and I go like this, and my curve goes away, and then I put it back down, and there it is. And my memory and attention span is very short. So between here and here, I've lost the shape.
Tip your labor over on in.
So what I came up with was my little graph and board. And the handout I
You need a handout back here.
what's that?
You want the handout now? Or?
Well, anybody wants a handout, we can give it to you. It gives you all the parts that I use for this. It is basically, I went to a thrift store, picked up a really cheap cork board. I have a couple push pins, a little spring, clips that I use to, oops, I'll go this way. Little spring clips to hold the chain in place so I can adjust. Sometimes I need to make a longer chain, sometimes a shorter. And that's how I came up with the shape of my bowl. You want to switch back to the slide? So when I'm turning, and you can see my lathe there, when I'm turning, I have the cork board in front of me. And that's what I try to adjust. So I'll adjust the width of the bowl. This bowl is 9¼ inches wide. And I want to be about 4½ inches deep on the outside shape. And that's what I'll use. Well, I still had problems going like turning my bowl like this. I'm going to switch over to camera. Have it like this, and then try to equate it to that. I just was having all kinds of problems. So I came up with another approach, was to take a piece of cardboard and cut it out. Now this is a corrugated cardboard. I found that that's not really the best cardboard to do this job. So I did that. Well, now I got a problem of when it's on top of the lathe, I can see it, but now I can't see my bowl. I put it on the back side, now I can't see my template, so I was totally lost, and I struggled a little bit with that until I came up with the idea of this corner and creating a template specifically out of this curve here. So what I would do is take a piece of cardboard. Now what I found is really critical is the top edge, and I'll explain why that is shortly. So I slide that behind, I put that up there, and then I trace along my chain so that I end up with a curve like that. Next.
You might want to try, if you just have it freely suspended
Yeah.
and drizzle CA glue. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to sacrifice the chain for that length, but the CA glue will just crawl down and fuse shaft and ball,
Okay.
and then it'll be fixed. I mean, within limits, it'll be fixed.
Sure, it'll be fixed on there
Then you have to buy another chain.
every time. Yeah.
The
I'm
can's
getting
free.
100-foot length for like $8 from Amazon.
Well,
Give me a break.
I'm even more frugal. So
Some of us are just cheap.
see, I eat a lot of Cheerios, so Cheerio becomes my perfect cardboard, and those I can make up all the time. So I just went that way. So I would go through and basically cut along that line. And again, the critical portion is the top. Generally, I cut this short because I don't need it that long, and I'll explain why in just a second. So I'll cut that across there. And I write on here the dimensions. So it's a 8-inch bowl by 4.5 inch, and that is the top. That's simple.
Is the curve the same on both of those sides because of the different height of the pin?
They're relatively close. Yeah. This is the center line. This is 1/2-inch grid, and it is 1/2-inch grid. 16-inch is the maximum size of my lathe. So therefore, that's, now I took an arbitrary, made it 10.5 inches. Don't know how many bowls I'll do larger than that, but the potential is there.
But your point is that the width of your pins on that catenary curve is more important than the absolute comparison of the height of the pins.
Correct.
So horizontal access, you have the chain has to pass through the same number, right?
Yeah. 9.25 here has to be 9.25 there, or else it's going to be skewed and offset.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so I would just take this and adjust it to, let's say, an 8-inch by 8-inch by
They should
4
be at the same height.
Right.
Yeah, and that would be now the next shape. Or if I have a wide bowl and a narrow bowl, I go 14 and 14. Let's say, just as for argument's sake, 14, 14, and 2.5-inch deep bowl. That's my shape. And I'd create a new template on the outside here.
But your pins have to be exact same height from the chart. Or
It doesn't have to be.
It's going to skew it.
Well,
It has to do where the center point is of that. So if I, in other words, as an example, if these two are at, let's say 10, okay? If I take this up and this down to 10, it's the same curve as long as the lowest point is on my chart center.
Oh, that's the significance.
Yeah, that's the point. You're right. It will impact the lay of the chain. I don't disagree with that. But for what I'm doing, it seems to work out pretty well. I haven't really had a problem with that. I do have the spring clip so that if I need to make it longer, I can take it out of the chain, take out a spring clip, move my chain down, make my chain longer so I can do a longer loop on there. Any other questions? Oh, good questions. Thank you.
So if you want a shallower bowl, you just tighten the string or the chain, right?
Not tighten it. I just adjust my shape out
Yeah,
to
but
the
that makes
width.
it wider at the
That's
top.
tightening.
What if you wanted an 8-inch bowl that was shallow? Then
And
you
I would
tighten the
just
chain.
go 8-inch, 8-inch, and then
Oh, I see.
whatever
Oh.
depth I want it to be. Let's say it's a 3-inch bowl. 8-inch to 3-inch. Okay. I'm not left-handed, so it's a little easier for me this way. If I want it to be a 2-inch deep bowl on 8-inch, there's my chain, and that's now my shape of the bowl. That make sense?
Yeah.
So the key for me really was, and this is in your handout, I very quickly turned that today just so I can take pictures for the handout. So this is the exact template that I use for it. And when I hold this, you'll notice a little crinkle there. Well, that's because I have a foot down here. So what I do is, as I'm turning, and we would turn like this, of course, I would lay that on top. And the critical thing is, I'm not sure if the camera catches that. The critical is to make the top of the bowl straight in line with the top of my template. If I cock my template one way or another, my shape is off. That's why I said the top is critical, and I note that in. So now, as you can see, that shape's fairly close. This was a pretty dry bowl. I have other bowls here that I've turned as rough bowls to that shape. And again, the same thing is I fold in my cardboard to accommodate the foot. I line up the top as straight as I can, and you can see it's touching on one side. So see if I can rotate that a little bit more. It's touching right pretty much 2/3 of the way down. So this board is warping, this is changing, but I have my shape that I want already figured out, and I would adjust everything to that shape if I go forward. On one that I finish, just from a progression perspective, this being my first bowl, and this is one that I made not too long ago, and I'll put it to the same side, without a foot, and you can see the shape of that lines up with my template, and I think that's a very pleasing shape. Okay.
Have you done or thought about doing a reverse catenary on that curve going the other way?
No, I haven't experimented with that yet. That's a good point. I also have not really dealt too much with the golden ratio of bowls. If you're curious what that looks like, being a computer guy, do you mind popping up again for me? This is basically the same shape. I haven't figured out how to print it to scale. Okay. Once I figure that out, I really won't need that because I'll be able to print my template out directly. But I can put in here let's say it's a 15-inch bowl that I want 5 1/4 inches deep. That's my shape, Catenary Curve. Now, if I want it to be 15-inch bowl to the golden ratio, that's really the shape. Is everyone familiar with the golden ratio?
What is that?
Okay. Let me just jump over here real quick.
What is that program, Bill, that you're using?
This is called Library Calc. It's the same as Excel. It's a free version of Excel.
Okay.
So if you copy that graph and paste it into PowerPoint and match your XY axis to the inch ruler on PowerPoint, you'll be able to print to scale.
That would be one way to do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I use Draw to create this, which allows me to create everything at a 1/2 inch increment. Everything is a 1/2 inch, so when I print out my 11 by 17, I do have a couple of these if anyone's interested. I don't have a whole lot. You're welcome to one of those. So what is the golden ratio? It really is a ratio based on this pattern, as you can see here on the top. It's a ratio of 1.1618 to 1, or if you really want to do the math, It's this whole thing right there. That's what comes up with that formula. It's your eyes in relationship to your head is at that ratio. It's all over the place. A lot of architectural drawings, everything's based on that. What I found was, and this is the catenary curve below it, based on that ratio. Okay, the width and the height. And what I found was that if you divide whatever width you have by 1.16, you'll get the height based on the golden ratio. All right.
Is that golden ratio is that the French curve? What they call the French curve?
No, I don't think it is. I mean,
No, it's not.
yeah, I didn't think it was. And
I don't think it's 1.16 though.
It started off. It started off because of dividing a pentagon, making a pentagon. So
oh, I'm sorry, 1618. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Thank you. I have it wrong.
there's actually the ratio was discovered by Pythagoras back in Greek times. So it's just
Yep.
like it's just a simple geometric ratio that turns up in science all the time.
As far as wood turning, this Carl Ford III, I found he has this golden ratio calipers, but he really does go through and explain if you're doing a vase, how you would use the golden ratio. In other words, your widest point on the vase would be on the short side. If you want on the top, it could be on the bottom. If you're talking about your lip or rim to be the most pleasing aesthetically, based on Pythagoras or whoever in Greece did all these things, and it is very much so. It's almost weird when you look at something based on the golden ratio and something that's not. It just has a certain feel to it. So it shows the rims. So anyhow, that's really what the golden ratio is. It has nothing to do with the catenary curve. That is a hanging chain based on gravity pulling down the chain. But the size of the bowl, the width and height, and where you may have your widest point and narrowest point, or even your foot, could be done based on the golden ratio. I read one article that says that there was a big debate whether you go to thirds because, it's roughly a third. Well, it's not really roughly a third. But you could use that. If it's pleasing to you, it's perfect in the world for you. So that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're using purely by the golden ratio, then you are going to use the 1.618 to figure out that ratio. Any questions on that?
Isn't that really 2/3 of a third?
Close.
1.6.
It's close. It's close.
I mean, damn close.
Yeah, it's close.
But it depends. Well, if you're talking about a mathematician, it's not even anywhere close. If you're talking about a woodturner, it's close enough.
Or if you're talking about a farmer, that's pretty close.
Well, that's true if you're talking about a farmer, but
Well, you'll notice, Bill, despite all his best efforts, he got a perfect perfect catenary curve, but it still has the potential of having a little bit of a gap there. So you need to be aware of that, and you'll never, ever, as a woodturner, get it perfect.
right.
So
Right.
and so somebody will say, "Well, that's not a catenary." Okay,
Well,
guys, it's just getting it close to.
in deference to why I say that is, all in my viewfinders of cameras, they're all in thirds.
Right.
So I think in thirds, and when I go to lathe, I think in thirds.
Sure.
And I have one of those gizmos that they use to set your eyebrows right. Or
Which blew my mind, by the way. That's a whole nother discussion.
Oh, okay.
That's weird.
But yeah, no, I got it. I just don't think anybody ever turns that close to a golden ratio, that 1/10 of a.
Well,
make
I agree, and I don't think it's huge, but I did on this one, and this is a finished bowl. So I tried to get it to that perfect shape. I just felt it was pleasing, and to be honest, I'm trying to develop my eye on what is pleasing, because 2.5 years ago, this was pleasing, and I'm not going to debate it. A lot of my wife likes it, so I'm happy with it.
right there.
Okay, so who's going to argue with her, you know? But when I talk about what really is purely aesthetic and pleasing, as Ray said once to me, if you will make a heirloom piece of bowl, use the Catenary Curve. I would even argue to maybe the golden ratio, and I think you will make a beautiful heirloom bowl. Now, is it your style or your shape? Maybe not, and maybe you want something different, and that's perfectly fine. And that's what I'm encouraging, because this is one way to do it. This is how I'm developing my eye, but it's not the only way. I'm not saying it is the perfect right way. Okay.
Bill, the other question I have is, how do you know you're eyeballing whether your top line is flat or not? You
It's
should
tricky.
really lay a straight edge across
should.
the top, then butt it against if you want to be exact.
Yep.
Right there, even holding up, I said, oh, he's cheating a little bit. You know, I was just the way I was looking.
Yeah.
Can we get rid of the share?
The share?
Oh, the share.
Get rid of the share.
Oh, camera 4. Sorry. Thank you. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's just that since the top line is important,
It is.
you
yes.
could hold it up and it could tilt and it'll be a nice curve, but it won't be the one you sketched.
Sure.
So,
Sure, I agree. Depends on how precise, and
yeah.
I won't debate that at all.
So for me, what happens to your catenary curve once you start closing in the open? How do you handle that?
When I close the opening, what do you mean?
Yeah, these bowls that you're showing with a catenary curve are always open.
Right.
What happens when you start to close in the rim?
The ones, and I didn't bring any examples here, what I end up doing usually is where the fattest part of that is where I run the catenary curve to, and then from there I'll roll it in to make it more of a closed opening or closed form.
So you do that by eye, or
I do that by eye right now. Yeah. I mean, one day maybe I'll be good enough to figure the right way to do it, or a better way to do it. I don't think there's right or wrong from that respect, but that's what I do today.
Isn't that an opportunity to use your golden ratio? Do your
Exactly.
catenary curve,
I haven't done that yet,
and
but
the
yes.
top part is the golden ratio.
Yep. My only question is when I do something like this, to your point, and if I want this to turn in, where do I turn that in? If I do the golden ratio, my curve is going to start down here. And maybe that's what I want, maybe not. Maybe I don't have enough distance, because this is a rough turn one, enough space to go from that edge here to the lip right there. I may run out of space, I don't know. I also tend to make my lips open, such as this. I tend to roll it down through and make more of a not sharp point, but more blunt, but it's not square. I don't make it square. Just like this is my first bowl, you can see that rim is square. It's also got a punky spot there. I worked through it. It was ugly, but I worked through it. I didn't know what punky was, but at that time. But that rim is pretty flat. This one I make more rounded style, I'll call it.
Another way I've seen to get a catenary curve on a bowl is to do the inside and drop a chain down on the inside of it. And the chain will take the curve, and you see how that fits to the bowl, and modify your inside to match that, and then follow the outside with the calipers for the wall thickness.
Yeah, I've never tried that. That's interesting. Maybe I'll do that one of the ones coming up. I do it the other way. I do the catenary curve and get the shape what I think is pleasing, and then I just try to give that even thickness down through to the bottom. But to your point, you could hang the chain on the inside, and I think it'd be tough with the template and hollowing at that point. You'd have to take it on and off, I
Drop
guess.
the chain down, see how it fits in.
Well, when I'm turning, yeah, when I'm turning it this way, attaching it here, hold it like this, and I'm hollowing out, I'd have to take that off to get the chain, I guess.
Yeah, well, you want to spin your chuck off. You don't want to take it off the chuck.
Well, that's true, because it will get out of alignment. That's a good point. But any other questions? Anybody online?
So you made one other comment, and that is about learning the shape that you like. Are you finding that as you do more and more of this, you need less and less chains and templates? Is your eye getting that sort of feel for that catenary curve better?
I think I'm starting to. What I mean by that is when I rough a bowl out like this, I'll get fairly close. I tend to be fat in this area here, more like this is exaggerated fat. This is straight, but I tend to be fat in through here and make it more like a rounded up, more like this, I guess. Yeah, this is more fat on the side there. It's not it's a smooth curve. Don't get me wrong, but I think it looks fat to me. But I'm getting better at that. I still use it from time to time. Not every bowl I do is a catenary curve bowl. Sometimes the bowl shape just isn't that shape. I've made bell shapes. I've done one with lips. I've done other ones like that too. But I tend to go more catenary, more smooth around and flowing up versus going out, bump, and then going sort of rounded in like a, yeah, just a fat middle, I guess. I'm not sure.
If you wanted to use Ron's idea and use the chain on the inside, you could just make your template by tracing the inside of your curve and cut out that piece, and then you would have the inside, and you could try that.
So you're saying use this template?
Yeah, that'd be an idea if you wanted to try what Ron was talking about.
That's a good idea. Sure.
Take it off.
Yep, I have it here, so why not use it, right? Oh, good point.
Take a 1/4 inch off the outside of that diameter. You've got the wall thickness, then you know it's perfect.
There you go.
If your wall thickness is perfect.
Well, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, we all shoot for that.
But it's just it lets you know where your wall. Well, that's another check to see about wall thickness too. You don't have to necessarily measure with micrometer, like you were saying.
Angel?
If I can give you my 2 cents, you
Sure.
mentioned that you're having trouble with being too fat on the middle part of the curve.
Right. That's generally.
And I think the reason for that is, and I've run into it myself, not so much on bowls, but on the spheres and balls that I turn, is you have a mark that gives you your tail center or your drive center, and you have a diameter, so you can turn to those marks fairly easy. Between those marks, you have to trust what your eye can see to compare that curve one to the other. And I struggle with that myself. Even on the inside, what I do for the interior of shells and the interior of magic tricks is I make that template out of plastic that's about a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I can turn most of the curve down to the depth and down to the outer diameter. But the part in between those 2 points, always ends up to be cone shaped.
Right.
So the template, I can put some chalk on the edge, and I can use that as a telltale to see where it's not correct, and then I can turn away the material that's a cone shape
Right.
and sneak up on a fair curve.
All right, good. Thank you. I like that. Someone else was going to say something?
I just wonder if you're turning your inside shape and then trying to match the outside, how much of an issue is wall flex going to come in? I mean, obviously it depends on wood, but I saw some stuff that you are gonna get some flex, especially if it's a natural edge bowl or something that where you got wings on one side, that is gonna move a little on you. I've run into that issue already, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone has experience with that. I know on Greenwood, that's a real issue. It flexes quite a bit. On a thicker bowl like this, it doesn't flex too much because the thickness of my sides, it's not real thin, so it doesn't flex a lot. Though I will a lot of times put my hand, just let it ride gently on the outside to dampen any type of vibration or anything. So that seems to help too with that. Whether I could do that on the outside, I guess I could. I'm not sure. Do you have a suggestion about what to do if your bowl is flexing? If you do the inside shape first and then try to shape the outside, will the rim, more so is where it's going to be, flex enough to throw off your thickness?
Well, if you're using wet wood, it's definitely going to change. You need to dry it out. Let it dry for a couple of days, weeks, whatever.
Okay.
Make sure it's dry, then it'll stay.
Okay.
What I've been doing with wet wood is turning down to about a 1/16 of an inch thick, and using one of those rubber baby buggy bumper type chucks. Reverse turn it to turn the foot off.
Okay.
And the compression on that ring, you can tighten it down fairly tight because it's a compression ring, so it distributes the forces of those bumpers. And you can turn very delicately the foot, but it does flex, and it will snap. I've read it in a book.
You've seen it too. You've turned too thin.
Okay. Anybody online? Any questions? Not sure I have time to. I was going to take this and rough it out to the shape we just created, but I'm not sure I have time for that.
Well, Barry has a bit of a demo also for his
Right.
purposes.
He said about 20 minutes or so.
20
Okay.
minutes, and then we have show and tell.
Right.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Thank you.
Incidentally, I think the way you come up with a golden section is to have a square bisected and just take a radius. And I believe this X is to Y 1.61, so on and so forth. So you don't need to use math to get to it. You just compass, just use compass or something like that. Barry showed this on Coffee Hour last week, and nobody could figure out how he did it. So I asked him if he wouldn't mind giving us some insight. So, thank you, Barry.
I agree with Jim, by the way, on 2/3, 1/3 is really damn close. You got to work with like 400 grit paper to work it out so it's exact. I'd also like to,
400 grit?
in a related matter, there's an old joke about you have an engineer, mathematician, and a physicist, all are challenged to design an automatic sheep shearer that speed up shearing a sheep. The idea being rotary motion around the sheep's body. And the engineer comes up with gears and levers and crap, and it nicks the sheep here and there, and it leaves some stubble here and there, but it works. And the physicist comes up with something that is longitudinal, goes from front to back, and again, there's nicking. So the mathematician said, well, I have the exact answer. And this is not a pro-mathematician joke. The mathematician says, first, assume the sheep is spherical.
That's good. I like that.
Okay, the subject bowl is this one right here. And essentially it's segmented, but with a lot of variation.
We just lost the audio in the field.
The rib, it would tear out. All the grain has friction. Hey, here's more pleasant. You could do a 4-piece segment that you glue together so it's all more or less in with the grain. And so do the rest of it from back here if we can get the camera back here. The base is also, this is 8 segments, so that each segment will span 2 of the ribs. And it's nice to have it so that the joints all align where they occur.
Can't find a tool now, it's so organized.
Looking for the truck key. Oh, back there. Of all places.
It's all organized now.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be the base. And although that one there has ribs that come back on themselves, the ones I'm going to show, knowing that Bill was going to talk about hyperbola and catenary, I made a catenary design. Step 1, and this block was about that long. This is end grain. If you look at it, see the grain is going this way. And so I had like a chunk of cherry that was cut a couple years ago. And I just bandsawed it like at about 1 1/8 inches. And then through a thickness sander, ran it down so that they were smooth on both faces. And then they were all like 4x6 blocks. And glued a few together till I got, by my calculation, about 27 inches of length. And you can kind of see, I don't know if you, I think you can see black lines traced on this thing. You can zoom in on that.
Yeah.
You can go without computer software, but I happen to have a fairly cheap 2D CAD system on my home computer. And so I laid out the bowl in profile, and I get that this shape right here is a catenary shape, and it allows for 1/10 inch waste on the inside and the outside. And anybody who's ever glued up a segment of wood for turning, it never works out exactly. You don't want to wind up that you're where you want to be, but there's still a spot that you haven't gotten to. And so these are cut with excess on the inside and the outside. Where it deviates from catenary is for a catenary shape, these should be about that far apart. So if you can visualize a curve continuing down from here into a belly and going up again, that would be a catenary shape. Problem is, these are 1 inch wide. 1 inch wide. There's 16 of them. You can't fit 16 on that small of a circle. And so, going back to the computer, I looked at, okay, if I take what diameter is it required to fit 16 on it? And that's what I come up with, 5 point something. And so they will all be glued just touching that circle. So first of all, you have your slab, you dress your slab so that the width is the height you want to have for the bowl. And there will be a rim put on top. So the whole thing winds up being 5 inches tall, plus a that thickness bottom. For positioning the ribs, and I had not yet thought of this at the point where I showed on Coffee Hour on how to place them. And it was a nightmare because I do use CA glue. This is my first time using CA glue 100%. Every glue joint on there is just CA. There's no white glue or yellow glue or anything else used. And as you know, the rapid set of CA, if you put a rib in place, you hit it with the glue and you realize about 1.5 seconds later, it's not exactly where it should be. It's where it's going to be. And that translates into, if you get right down to measuring the lattice ribs on that, they vary slightly in length. Not a whole lot. It come out pretty well for me. But there is maybe a 1/16 of an inch difference in length on the final row, from row to row, where I had to do some custom fitting on the wedges. So I come up with an idea. This is just a piece of wood glued to. If anybody is familiar with platform tool rests, I think they're also called box tool rests. They're really made, I think, for running inside a box and support your tool right near the cutting end of doing your box. And it's just double stick taped on there. So I position this little partial hole, a recess in the bottom with a 1 inch diameter Forstner bit. These ribs are 1 inch wide, 1 inch wide. So if the rib sits on this, it'll be sitting at the exact height it needs to be. All it's left to do is to rotate this thing through its indexes. And unless I was misled, I think the Powermatic has 32 indexes on it. 16 ribs, genius, divides into it evenly. So every other number I'm going to be using and get exactly, theoretically, as the mathematician said, theoretically exactly evenly spaced ribs.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it is. I never use it.
And I want to position this so it's not in contact with there, because you know the habit of CA to follow us, it doesn't necessarily just go by gravity, it goes by capillary action and wind. Who knows? Anyhow, I don't want to have it get on this, because then I'm cleaning this off and ungluing it and such. Let me bring it down here a little bit more. And so when you bandsaw up on this block, you preserve that bottom edge and the top edge too. That bottom edge I have pre-coated, just rubbed on a pre-coat of CA. But even though the CA will glue in a few seconds to cherry, or almost any kind of wood, it glues a whole lot faster if it's already been CA'd one time. I tried it with thick, where you put like 2 drops on the bottom, you put it on there. That works just fine, except it's hard to determine. If you take just a second too long, it starts to drizzle down, even though it's thick. And it gets too close to the lower edge, so when you press it, all of a sudden you have a droplet of CA glue sticking out. And it is hard to clean off. And it is important to have nice, clean openings there. That's why I didn't use yellow glue on it. Here's regular thin CA. Somewhere I should have. Kind of hard to apply without the little thin spout. Not hard to apply, hard to not over apply. Must be laying there somewhere. I'll try it without it, but you know, the little, when you buy CA glue, they come with little, very thin, I'm not sure what they're called.
Wood tips.
I had 3 of them in a little bag. Easy open bags. I've tried different brands of CA, and they all have a similar behavior in that if there is still any thick residue left, when you hit it with the accelerator, it turns into a rigid white foam, which is also hard to clean off. And so you want to avoid, I want to rely on capillary action to do the job. So I put the rib on here, bring it in so it just touches that painted line, or penciled line.
You got locked in an index position. Did you hear you?
Shaking with nerves doesn't help. Risking foam. And then we go to, and I should have set this for one of the indices first. So we're going to go to the second, I don't even know how to index this. How does a Powermatic index?
Very carefully.
Just to expedite things here, I'll just do it randomly, relying on the fact that these will just touch when they're forming a circle. I'm not gonna do all 16 for you here, so. But I will go ahead and just do the the bottom edge. Should have thought and got a paper towel to blot up. Anyhow. So there's 2 of 16. Oh. Thank you, Doug.
So it's on the floor in front of the lathe.
Okay, so you have to imagine 16 of these bad boys on here. I'm going to turn it toward the audience so you can see what happens next. And again, the advantage of doing it on a computer is you're not laying out, not like Bill's graph paper, where you're coming up. These slots are, anybody here have a table saw?
Yeah.
Do you have a dado set for it? The 2 faceplate dados, when put together, are exactly 1/4 inch. And so, you want your slot to be square bottomed, so you either have to use 1/4 inch or whatever width router, and you're going to burn up a router or 2 going through end grain like that across that board all those times. And all these slots on a router on end grain, you can see a lot of burn in there, even with the probably need to be resharpened. Anyhow, every 1/4 of an inch is a 1/4 inch slot. Every 1/2 inch is a 1/4 inch slot. And so I have all these bags of inserts. There's 16 pieces in a bag. And if I take ring number 1, I numbered them. Just as the ribs have some oversize on them for cleaning up, these have some oversize primarily because the curve does not go from point to point. Now that would be a cord line, or you'd be standing up in here when you turned it. And so it goes in the slot to maybe 1/8 of an inch short of being flush. This one here, obviously I didn't glue it to the right setting, because at home in an actual trial, it was right about like that. But the beauty thing is, I'll go to the next one down just to show you here. As far as they create very neat, clean joints that are going to be filling on the outside and filling on the inside. You don't get gaps because the slots in the ribs are parallel slots. And you put whereas normally on gluing up a segmented bowl, you'd put the angle on the edge of each piece to build your segments. Here, I cut each of these as if it was a ring segment so that the bevel is in the wedge. You just push the wedge in there, and each bag is of a different length. There's 7 rows in there.
You have to be somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
To do this. I said I have to be on the spectrum to be able to do something like this.
You have some stuff in your shop that help you, right?
Are you suggesting I fall somewhere in there?
No idea.
Me and Elon, huh?
Yeah.
I was supposed to get booze on that. Okay, so,
Barry, how many pieces do you cut for those little?
well, there are 16 ribs, and then there's 7 rows of 16. So we got 8 times 16, plus 8 in the bottom, plus 8 in the top. So it's like 10 times 6. Hey, that's a convenient number, 160 pieces. But it's not as time consuming. Most of the time, 90% of the time, was laying this damn thing out on the computer. Your bottom wedge, as you come in, you can see these slots are getting longer as that curve starts to approach horizontal. They get wider and wider, and so this tab here is substantially wider than that tab. But you push them in, and actually, I'm not going to take the time to do it, but before I put any of these in, I would have taken it off the lathe, and stiffened all of those ribs by just lay this on the table on a flat surface and place the assembled ribs upside down, just visually centering it. And for the nicest look factor and strength factor, you want to have your joints fall somewhere in between the ribs so that you have solid wood spanning the ribs. When you have it all done, you're going to have this ready to turn, and you just turn it around, or you can advance bandsaw it. These are not accurate rings. These are just meant for gluing this up, these red rings you see on here. You'll be turning down quite a bit below that and a whole lot out. My plan was this would have a 3/8 inch thick, as that is, 3/8 inch thick wall. And so you just turn it all away, and it turns away amazingly easily with, I think I used around 800 RPM on that one. If you go with lower RPM, you do risk, if you're not just light, and I recommend on the inside, use a scraper. Don't use a gouge. At least with my dexterity, I don't use a gouge, for fear that if something jerks or I shake or something, and the gouge hits on it, I'm liable to fracture it. And then you've lost a lot of time and possibly the whole bowl. And so I have several scrapers, not negative rake, regular scrapers. I mean, I have some negative rake too, but I found on this regular scraper, I think I have a 1 3/4 inch wide one I made from a piece of high-speed steel I bought on Amazon. And you just kind of fan it lightly, and you're just following the curve in there. And you don't have to stop regularly because the chips do not come out. The dust does, the chips do not. You got to stop it, and then chips all fall down, and you rake them out. So that basically, am I about 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, Barry, how many flew apart for you?
How many what?
Flew apart in the process of turning it at the end.
I only lost one by not flying apart. I have had bowls blow up on me, but not doing this. I've had solid wood ones blow up. I just thought, let's see how it looks at 1200 RPM. And about between a tenth and 100th of a second after it made contact, boom! Face shield. But the part that goes down hits your lathe and bounces up in your face. The other part just hits the roof and comes back down. And the face shield doesn't help when it comes down. I did ruin one beyond the one I was talking about. I even took the time, and all the grain was going this way. But the wood I used on the ribs, I don't know how many of you here are familiar with I think it's an African wood called ivory. It's a very white wood by its name, and it looks for all the world like boxwood. It has no distinction at all on grain. It's just like it's like putting ebony on something and looking for grain, you know, it just lays there. So it needs something like features to make it stand out. Problem is, it's very chip sensitive. And so I thought I was doing great. It was coming along there, and it shears out. The green fiber tears free of itself so easily that what I thought was going to be looking good, when I stopped it to look at how I was doing, there were chunks all over the place. With no noise, it just broke off. It has very low, what do you call it, the wood property for how strong it is. You know, if you try and tear wood apart, there's a wood terminology for that strength, and I forget what it is. But it must be very low. It doesn't appear on one of your wood charts, and so I have no idea anyway. But I have blown a couple up, but normally I have pretty good luck, and I've only ventured into open segment. Like this is only my, I guess, third bowl I've done it with. Normally they're all closed, and then they turn real nice.
That is a beautiful looking bowl.
Oh, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Barry.
I'll leave the parts laying up here until after the meeting if you want to look at it.
It's crazy. So this month's challenge is April Fool's, and fittingly it's April Fool's Day. So you folks have things to show. I see some things on the table. I know you've got something. I don't know if it's April, the monthly challenge. You?
It's not the monthly challenge.
It's not the monthly challenge.
Try it.
Try it?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
On April Fool's Day?
What should I hit?
Oh, no.
Do I have a volunteer?
A little harder.
This meeting is called to order. We can only have one meeting, I guess, huh?
That's pretty hard.
Magnets.
Did you design this? Oh my God.
Jeez.
Very clever. Hit it. This one must go over here.
I guess that's first place for the foolish contest.
It must be.
Well, actually, it meets two criteria. You said using metal and wood previously.
Great, so you've got 2 months.
It's got wood, yeah, so. And then the challenge is put it back together.
Next.
That was great.
It's very clever. Maybe you have to take it apart and let people see how you made it. Very clever. How long did it take you to figure that one out?
I've been working on it for a couple of months. I got to put finishing stuff on it, but I just finished up today getting one that actually works.
How many did you have?
That's the second one.
That's all?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
He wrote the first one.
Actually, I've got plans for that one this fall.
Nice. What do you win? Any others? Anybody online?
Can I ask a question about that one?
Yeah.
When you actually made it, did you cut the piece in half, then glue them together, and then turn it? Is that the way you did it? Okay.
Yeah, and then I drilled all the holes while it was glued together.
Okay.
And then after it was, after I cut it back apart, took it apart,
Yeah.
then I clamped it here. Then I re-drilled the holes just to true them up, because obviously with the paper piece between them,
Yeah.
they were a little bit off center.
Okay.
And then I cut these pieces here to go in, and I had to taper them so that it gives more force to help force it apart.
Okay. Oh, I see.
But the challenge was getting the right magnetic strip inside so that it would separate. Because the first time I did it, I had magnets on each side, and you had to really hit it to get it to come apart. So I ended up with magnets on one side and just metal on the other side.
Okay, cool.
Whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, at first I couldn't figure out why you had darker. Now I know why you have the darker pieces on the ends, because that's a wedge that forces it apart.
Yeah.
That was clever. That was actually worth the demonstration. Anybody else have any April Fools? Anybody online? No? Okay. Here we go.
You know, for something totally useless.
Well, that's most everything I make questions.
And I wanted to, experiment with a captive ring, so I just did that to play. And I don't really have a good tool to cut out the inside.
How did you scoop it out?
Just using a narrow pointed scraper was the only thing I had that I could get in with.
Make a little
and kind of angle in as best I could and not totally lose my ends.
Well, it's very smooth.
Obviously some sanding too, but
How did you come from the opposite side with a striker?
well, I did that in the middle, so I just worked the middle out and just angled in from both sides because that was what I had. Yeah, work with what you have and figure it out. And it'd be nice to have something to do that with, and at some point, I guess I will.
They don't work. They don't work. Trust me, I saw it in the book.
I mean, I didn't know what the best way to do it was, so learning.
Homemade tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get a homemade tool, go and get a quarter-inch or half-inch Allen wrench, sharpen the end of it, and then it goes in the side like that.
Steve Jones, the English guy,
Yeah.
he does everything with a skew.
Exactly.
He'll make a captive ring with little tiny thing with a skew.
Yeah, and I think I saw one of them was what I started with, and saw that, and I thought, well, let me try that, but somehow it's not quite as easy when you're learning it than watching somebody that is an expert doing it on a video in 2 minutes.
Well, he didn't show you the first one he ever did.
20,000 ago.
40,000, exactly.
Yeah, right. Next. Somebody step up. There's a bunch over there.
Well, it's not useless because I stuck a feather in it. I didn't have a light.
Did you call it macaroni?
But it was foolish because it was white pine, and this was a tree that blew over in our yard about 20, 30 years ago maybe. And I thought it was cool because it was a big chunk, and I laid it up on the window in our garage. And whenever we have a lot of red tails that fight and fuss, and I pick up their feathers and decorate it with it. So just to do something stupid, I turned, but I don't think I ever turn white pine again. So.
It's actually pretty cool though.
Oh, what spurred me on though was I think the AAW email some guy was doing this kind of stuff, taking scrap pieces of odd woods and turning it into something. That's where I saw it. Came in an email from the AAW.
Hey Tom, you might have said this. Was that hole a branch?
Yeah, I think it was where an old branch had come out. Yeah,
It looked like a perfect circle.
it was a branch hole. Yeah.
It's a perfect circle.
The hole came. Yeah, the hole came with the wood.
It came with the wood.
No extra charge.
I thought George O'Keefe look to it.
Yeah.
A bit.
You should have said how you turned it out and then made it rough and everything.
Right.
Right.
So that was
You started out with a Forstner bit and then you distressed it, right? Yeah. There's a couple other pieces over there. Rick?
So this is a month late for the metallics from last month. I started it before last month, but it got away. So this is just a little jewelry box that I made for my wife. And it's out of holly and ebony. And so I just turned the shape and had a big old crack, so I filled it. And then on the outside, I was just playing with texturing and a couple different coloring ideas. So I have acrylic paint. There's some stain,
What are the uniformly spaced rings of dots under the lavender?
Up here?
No.
Or down here?
Yeah,
Yeah, I used cut burr, a round burr.
Oh, okay.
The spiky one. And actually I randomly dotted it. And then I dyed it with one color. And then I textured it again and put the second color on to give it a little variation.
But you had to individually paint every little depression.
No, I did that with the airbrush. See, the nice thing about when you do paint first, huh?
I think he means with the burr.
Well, yeah, each one was done, but then when I colored it, I just used the airbrush. But the nice thing is when you have the acrylic on there and you get the aniline dye on there, it wipes right off the paint. So, and then up top, that's just a smaller round burr that I used for that, and did the same thing there. And then I played with flocking. First time I've used that, and it was fun.
How did you apply that?
With a flocking puffer. Well,
I ask a question.
You can order them on Pornhub.
Yeah.
Is that what you have to buy when you look it up on Amazon?
Well, yeah, it's a flocking puffer. Now what it is 2 pieces of cardboard tubing that one fits inside the other one very, very snugly, and then there's holes on the one end. Huh?
Hence the name.
Yeah, and then you just go with the flocking inside, and it puffs it out.
What holds it to this?
Well, see, if you buy the expensive flocking, it'll come with the adhesive. But I bought the variety pack on Amazon for $5.95. So I had to make my own adhesive, which I just used some white glue, and then to color it, the tube paint, acrylic tube paint.
The glue?
Yeah.
And the same color as the flocking?
Yeah. It's very, very close. It's not quite exactly the same, but it's really close. So that way, because the adhesive and the flocking should be the same color, because that way, if it gets a little thin on the flocking, it doesn't show as bad. So, but it was fun. My wife will like it. She saw it on the lathe before it was done, and I yelled at her because she wasn't supposed to see it. But she showed up at my shop unannounced and scared the crap out of me. So, but yeah, so it was just something fun.
Colors. I like the color. Nice. Jim.
I usually don't get to do this because I'm sitting there with those guys, So, but I brought this tonight. Barbara Dill was invited as a guest. I think she was first week in January on the Thursday morning, and she's what I call the queen of off-centered turning. I think she would consider that a compliment. Well, she got me hooked, and I had to learn. I have always hated using my spindle skew because I have always had so many catches with it. I don't even touch a regular skew, only to make the 15-degree notch for my jaws, But spindle gouge sat on my shelf, and every time I pulled it down, I wrecked something. So I said, okay. Well, you can't turn this kind of thing without using a spindle gouge. This is the first one of this kind of turning. It's circular. It's off-centered, circular type turning, to use Barbara's language. It has 4 center points on the bottom, and I used a single center point up here. This was a tail, and so I rotated on the headstock. Now I did put lead in here, shot, and managed to order from our dear old Amazon the cups on the top, and I wanted to finish it, so I just measured by online, and well, doggone it, it fit. Now, then I brought it in, and my dear wife said, you know, it's just going to topple over with the candle in it. I said, what do you mean? It's got lead shot in it. And then I realized she was absolutely right. Put a white candle on that, it starts going like this. So I ended up turning this, by the way, is the heartwood of persimmon. Persimmon trees, even the big 30-inch ones, have barely a foot of heartwood in the middle. It's really unique to the persimmon. This came from out near, what is that, Sinking Spring or Silver Springs, or west of town. It was a friend's wife's heritage tree, and they took it down because it was starting to rot, and I got a bunch of it. Well, so I broke 2 of them on junk wood, and I said, okay, time to get the good wood out and do it right. And this was the first one I did right. And all of the edges were that sharp, they would have cut me if I'd have got again. So I knocked it off with a little bit of sandpaper.
Is that the natural finish? That's what the wood looks like.
This is I'm a big Mahoney's walnut oil guy.
That's it.
That's it. I need to back up. I may have put some of his. He has wax now. It's walnut wax from top of it.
It's a clear finish.
It's clear. There's no color to it. No, no.
That's beautiful.
The bottom wood is jacaranda wood from. Actually, this piece came from Australia. One of the guys in the. Yeah, it's a nice.
I just bought her book, and I've been reading it, and I haven't started yet. I'm still trying to figure out what's all going on, but yeah.
Look at her videos.
Okay.
I watched the video on turning this 3 times before I put, because I think it through and I go, okay, what's the nature of this? Because it's very easy, as you might guess, for you to jump off of this edge back.
There's a lot of air.
There's a lot of air. And off center, well, this was small, so off center wasn't way out of balance.
Yeah.
But when you have bigger pieces, which I started big first, and I said, that's just tough. So.
Down in Philly, where they had the Museum of Wood, I've been down there a couple of times for those exhibits, and some of the stuff he has down there is really
Richard
Serini or
Spheri.
Yeah.
He has a show down there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was into off center that much until he was actually the guy.
There. Yeah, he was there.
But this was fun because it was the first one I did without screwing it up.
That's really nice looking.
I thought so, but now the scary part is trying to make another one.
Well, Barbara,
Not to match. There was no matching because the design comes.
well,
from
but
the
even Barbara said she was turning something once that was like multi-centers, and she tried to duplicate it, and it took her forever because that was like she called it beginner's luck.
You
Right?
cannot duplicate.
Can't duplicate. No way.
But even something coming close, she had trouble in her early days. You know, Matt.
This is a piece of brown Molly burl that I got down at West Penn Hardwoods, which is in North Carolina, by the way. It was a small piece, so I just figured I'd take and turn something that's useless. Then I took and threaded the finial. It's made out of,
clever.
Can't remember now what I said it was. But it's hollow. You can stick your finger in it, but it's not sanded good in there.
How did you thread the finial?
My hand. My hand. With the
Show us let me see the bottom. Hold the bottom. Okay.
They got my name on the bottom, by the way. Only thing it says, oh, this one doesn't have it. This one just says handcrafted. I have other ones that say Clarksville, Georgia, but I don't live here anymore, so that's it.
And that the circular part is hollow.
That's hollow, yeah. It's hollow in there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. West Penn Hardwoods, I'll tell you what, they got lots of burl caps.
Huh.
Lots of burl caps.
What did you use to hollow that small inside?
I have a wrench. Oh no, I have the little Sorby hollower.
It's just a quarter, it's about 3/8 of an inch wide. Hook on the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, works real well.
Cool.
Nice. I see some other pieces over there. Who they belong to? Doug?
So I got a cherry burl from Ken Vasco up in woodturners up in Nittany Valley. I think it's woodturning up there.
I think so.
And I told him I would take it under the condition that I gave it back to him as a piece. The thing that I haven't yet finished the varnish off that. The reason I'm bringing it up is because what I actually did is, if you take a look at this, that bowl is off center from the center of the actual piece. So I use I've had for turning off bases of bowls, I made a jig with four bolts in it, so you could actually turn the butt off a bowl this way by clamping it. And I used that clamp to off-center clamp this, so that I could actually make the bowl off-center. So that was more the thing than anything else. And I just like the bowl. I put a bit of epoxy glue in with some pigment in there, dark, to make it so I could, you could use that for putting cheese on if you want to, or something like that. But most of the cracks I just left because you can fill them in if you want to. But ultimately, I'm not sure anybody's going to really put anything in. And if somebody wants to put a cheese dip in there or something, they're probably going to put a glass bowl in there or something like that. Anyway, or chip dip or whatever. So,
or you're going to have chip dip in there forever.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be my choice after that anyway. So anyway, and you guys, just the other part is that I've been making these pens. I think I told you before, and I've been making pens for cancer patients. Right. Ken's wife has got stage 4 cancer at the moment. So one of the reasons for giving this back to him is because it's a burl, and I just want to give it back to him. So you keep Ken and his wife in your prayers if you have.
Did you counterbalance weight on when you
No,
turned that on your
no.
big wheel? You didn't?
No,
Okay.
It wasn't that far out.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yeah, no, it was. I could have, but it was close enough because it's only off by maybe a couple of inches off the center there, so you didn't have to counterbalance that much. Any more than you would for your off-center turning, to be honest. Your off-center turning probably bounced more than this one did, Jim.
If it's too big.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
And I sent some pictures in. And while you're working on finding those, I just made 2 of these little, oh shucks, what are they called, Barry? Ikebana. 2 of those. Is there a deadline on those? We just keep making them as long as we want to make them.
As long as forever.
Okay.
I haven't used up my 36 stainless steel inserts yet.
Well, I'll keep going on that. Do we have pictures yet or no?
Just one sec.
So what's coming up is a project that I started in January of 23. Here we go. The table, and that's basically flat work, except the center of that was that column. And that's an 8-sided column. It measures about 7 inches in diameter. So probably have about 4 or 5 months of intensive work on it, but just got it done about a month ago. There you can see one of the flaws right there. Feature. Just as I thought I was, just about ready to quit. Why, that's the point where it jams and parts fly off. So I filled it in with glue and with partly I decided it's down underneath. Nobody's going to be down on the floor looking at it. Filled it in with glue and sawdust. It came out kind of dark. When Ernie was here with his demonstration, he showed us a great way to cut things out and glue something else in there. But I was already well past that. Anyhow, I didn't see any good way to go back and put that back on the lathe. So that's the basics of the for the lathe stuff.
Alan, what wood?
That's oak, red oak.
Red oak.
Red oak.
Okay.
What's the top?
Top.
What is the top? Is that oak?
That's red oak too. That all came from a tree. I was visiting a friend 30-some years ago, and the power company had come through and cut down his 30-foot red oak, and just, it was like 24 inches laying out by his driveway. What are you going to do with that? Well, I don't know. I said, well, I'd be interested. So I bought that for $50 and had it sawn up. But then, you move around. I've moved this pile, I think 5 times now. I'm never going to move it again. There's still about 200 board feet down there. If anybody needs some oak, I can give you a real good deal. So yeah, it's drop leaf, and Tom Morton gave me some real good clues on what I needed to do to work out the design on that. So
it's nice.
Why does the top look yellow?
I don't know.
Color.
The light above it or something.
If you look at it physically,
oh yeah,
all the red.
It's all the red oak.
Okay,
it's all the red.
Incandescent lighting up above.
Yeah, it's the light.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think we got LEDs up above it, but yeah. So anyhow, and the next picture. Okay, and the next one. Okay, is there one more there yet? Only 2. 4. Only 4. Okay. Anyhow, the picture that's not there. Of course, my wife decided that you got to put a tablecloth over this to cover it all up. You don't want it to get damaged. So anyway, and she's probably right, but
what's the point, right?
Anyhow, so the other question, and I'm open to. I started to turn this. It's beech. It's got some cracks in. I wanted to fill them. CA glue. It was bleeding out, just leaving stain along the edges. And so I went ahead and trimmed that back an extra 32nd of an inch or whatever. Tried some white glue, and I'm not real happy with that either. If anybody's got ideas on a good way to fill cracks, I'd be
CA. The thick CA glue.
Will not bleed out.
One of the things that we talked about at the Thursday morning coffee hour was using baking soda? Packing with baking soda, and then put the CA into it.
Then it comes out white. If you use thick CA glue, it doesn't foam like thin does.
Okay.
You put it on, and when it starts to sag, it is running on the starting to run to the inside. You hit it with the accelerator. It doesn't foam.
Okay.
Baking soda works pretty good too. You put a pretty wide gap in that. The other thing I've used is a 2-part epoxy. Yeah, and then mix something into it. That's what I did on mine, and you can get quite a thick coating in there with 2-part epoxy.
Okay, I'll give that a try.
If you put the sawdust in the crack and then run the thick on top and let it settle in, that generally works for
Okay, okay. Barry, leave these behind for you.
Put them in my bowl.
In your.
Don't break it.
I'm not going to take a chance.
There's a product, a filler that I'm not going to be able to remember the name. It comes in a small can, tends to be upside down, comes in 10 or 12 colors,
plastic
dries within a couple of minutes.
Plastic glue.
Great, I use it all the time. Found it at the hardware store. I can't remember the name of it though. It comes in small cans.
Okay.
But it's great stuff.
There's also a product called Millet MILLIPUT.
Okay, okay.
Have some slides.
We're kind of running out of time.
Well, we got 10 minutes.
Oh, good.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah, very common stuff.
Yeah, I have 4 granddaughters, and they're 8 years and younger, so I made them each a magic wand. But the interesting thing to me is I put their initials and the date on each one of their wands on this part that I turned here. And I purchased a Premier wood burning pen. and it really works great. Does anyone use one of those? They're pretty awesome. I mean, I use a ball tip, and I did not get the Peterson certificate in 2nd grade. That's how bad my handwriting is. And I was starting to write stuff with a conservative zinc pen, and it was just sloppy and messy. So I bought one of these, about $120, and I'll tell you, it's really nice. You can write small, large, and it's pretty neat.
So do it.
And then Angelo had a fundraiser was it last month or 2 months ago? And one of the pieces that I bought was, it turned out it was really beautiful tiger stripe maple. So instead of putting iridescent paint on it, I just dyed it, and it came out pretty nice. Just wanted to share
Do some
that.
magic.
What's on the top? Is that just turned ball?
It's just a ball with metallic paint on it. Yeah.
Can I have it back now?
How tall are they?
Well, I mean, some are this big, some are this. These are all about maybe like 5 inches for.
They look like they're about this tall.
I know, it's funny.
What was the name of the burning set you bought?
I think it's called Premier. Does anybody know that brand name? I found it on the AAW. There's discussion about the different brands and what costs what, which one works well. And it works really well. I'm really happy with it. I think it's Premier. It's out of Minnesota. They're made in America, well, probably from imported parts, but it's out of Minnesota.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Anybody online? Guess not.
A lot of skew work there.
A lot of skew.
I ain't gonna touch it.
Was it skew work, Tom? Or was it skew?
Some of it. Some of it's with a spindle gouge.
Okay.
On those trees, the dye that you used on those trees that you put the dye on.
I put a sandy sealer on first, and then I put the dye on, and then I have like a white pad.
Yep.
I just spin it at 1800 and sort of clean it.
Very cool. Does anybody have anything else? Any other business that we should talk about? Going once? Okay. Well, I think we found 2, what are they called, warm-up comedians for next month? Mike, Johnny. And with that, the other thing I would say, this could be an April Fool's punch bowl.
I think you get the punch.
Anyhow, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.